So good morning, everyone. I know it's been raining, and thank you so much for coming on a rain. Let me plug this up, and it's all good, right? I'm just going to save your necks. I'm just going to stay on this side of the podium so that you don't need to shuffle across because I got a demo to do and something really exciting at the end of the session. So obviously, if you are waiting on, please do wait for 2 minutes at the end of the session to show something really interesting. I think this is myself. I'm a lead developer advocate at Snowflake, and I've been an infrastructure app guy for quite a long time Java developer, and then getting into data right now, exploring what data is all about and all these things. I love to get connected, so all my socials are there on the QR code. If you wish to connect and talk more about data engineering, Gen AI, and other stuff around Snowflake, I'm happy to talk about that or anything around open source. I pretty much do this. Um, I'm going to start with a little lightened note today. It's not just jumping into technology, but I just want to start with some powerful concept that drives technology and drives everything today, everything that we do, that I usually call the initiative, right? It's the original spark that drive to create something super new or make you do something really different from what's being done. So for example, the beautiful Colosseum that the Romans built in Rome was something, the initiative that they did for to get the gladiators in and games in, right? Similarly, when kings conquered land, they want to do something. It's again an initiative. So the initiative keeps driving people to do something really, really new. And we are all born with that power. So I know we are all born with that power. And in fact, if you are here, it means that you want to cultivate it further and go even further. So, and you'll be wondering, okay, what this has to do with the technology? And we're going to really see how initiative is going to drive how you actually work with AI. It's not just another tool or technology, but there's going to be lots of initiative and creativity that's going to go behind when you actually work with it, right? So this is going to be little, maybe like I should start say like little, I should not put philosophical, but just an understanding of what's all about and where we can use technology to enhance, refine, create, and even transform through grades of initiative. I'm going to take you through a little grades of initiatives all about, right? Um, I want to start with initiative. The person with the initiative is like a shooting star, right? He or she has doing something really new with a great inventive spirit that still rise inside. That's all required that we need to kindle that thing up and then get them doing things, right? So what are these grades of initiative? So I put this way, right? It's not that every time we are creating something, it's that we have to always create something just phenomenally useful for the whole society, right? It's not something that we usually do. There are three grades basically. There's one which I call as enhance, basically refine and strengthen what already exists. What I mean by that is it's not that like I have to create everything new. For example, I could take a recipe from somebody else and make it the recipe to my taste, so which is also something that we are doing creatively because it's not something we are altogether creating new, but we are making that a little better, right? The next one is like I could create something which is not useful for the phenomenal society as well, right? For example, I create a bookmark which I could use for myself, or I could write a poem and then keep it for myself. I don't want to publish. So these are something which I still doing some amount of creativity, but that's something which is not having a phenomenal effect on the whole society. All right. The last is obviously we have known all of us whenever we talk about creativity, when we talk about initiatives, this is a transformation. It's kind of like driving breakthrough innovation that reshapes the landscape. I'm soon showing you like how Snowflake Cortex is going to do that, but also the biggest thing which I always strikes my mind when I want to do this transform is your iPhone, right? Really change the way how you actually communicate with people, how you use phones, etc., right? But what this has to do with what a new thing that I started to talk to people about is called as applied creativity. Right? This is closely related to the AI thing that you're going to see today. How to leverage AI at work, how to apply your initiative, how to apply your creativity. And I'll tell you a few tricks and tips. How do we actually do that to get this thing rolling? All right. So, but before that, I just want to touch upon a few things around creativity. Creativity has multiple steps or multiple attributes. We're putting more technically saying. The very first thing is knowledge, understanding what something is and how it works. So we gain knowledge through various things. We have read something, a job experience, and a foundation that we are built on. And what gets interesting is like the raw knowledge gets applied into wisdom, the ability to apply knowledge effectively in real world. For example, navigating complex solutions or putting our experience to work. And that comes the interesting part before that is what is the difference between a knowledge and wisdom? We said applying knowledge, but what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? To take a simple example, knowing tomato is a fruit, right? And not putting on a fruit salad is wisdom. That's how I actually take it. Like if you want to take a knowledge versus wisdom, that's how I see this. Like people gain knowledge, but when they want to apply wisdom, then you have to do little thinking, right? Whether I want to do this or not, right? But what really happens is that once we gain these two things, we know wisdom how to do stuff, then this comes a real right training. I know that without proper training, even the brightest of idea could fall down because we need to have proper training on doing stuff. Obviously, we've been to these conferences where they run workshops, they run labs, they make you train on some technology, and we take the technology and kind of apply that on our job. So that's what I call as practice. So we take it on, put it on our job, or share it with our friends. Last but not the least, I also want to say, like, you also share it with the community, right? I always believe that when you share something, your knowledge keeps growing. For keep talking. For example, the way how I talk this particular topic like a couple of keynotes ago, and now is totally different because I'm keep sharing with people and get new ideas from them. And we do a lot of stuff, right? We do that with real sharing with community and giving back to the community. I'm stressing again, typically from a Snowflake perspective, being a data guys. So we run what is called as a data superhero programs across Australia and in fact across globe. And if you're not part of it and wish to be part of it, I'll share the QR code at the end of the session where you can join yourself. We run meetups, events across Australia and New Zealand as well. And then probably you can also meet us in our booth, which is right there, to understand more about this program, the benefits that you get out of it, right? So, but what happens all these things, right? This is where I'm going to see like how do we tie the initiative, the creativity, the AI tool that we have to put something what I call a supply creativity. So why I put on this is really, really important for today's world is because there's always been a fear. There's always been a fear amongst developers think, okay, AI is going to replace my work. AI is going to take all my work out and AI is going to do everything by itself, right? I'm just going to demyst that a little bit here. So first, it's a tool versus replacement thing. I mean to say like AI serves as a powerful tool that enhances human creativity rather than replacing it. So that's how I put this as. That's the reason why I started with the term like AI applied creativity, and you see those two AI in it, which means that AI serves as a powerful tool. It's not going to replace anything that you are already there. The second one is skill application. As we know, like we study mathematics, we study science, we study environmental thing during our school, and we start to apply them during our work. Similarly, like you learn something, you already AI is trained to have that knowledge, and while you are doing this, like just applying that knowledge at your work, we're not kind of basically replacing anything. It cannot replace what you can think about. And then there's a real thing called as a mindset shift. Again, this is more for us to do. I mean to say like transforms like AI will take my job to AI used to excel at my job. So that's what the mindset shift that each developer or each builder should have, because that's what's going to drive things tomorrow. And again, I see AI as another professional toolkit. For example, we have Chrome, we have MS Excel, we have lots of other tools inside your laptop that runs your daily programming thing. But again, AI is going to be another tool that's going to sit inside your machine rather than replacing anything that you are doing. Obviously, there is always this with those, right? Human advantage. Whenever you do something, your human experience, your human emotions, and human creativity comes super important when you want to apply AI. Without writing a prompt, for example, that's what the common thing that we do. I cannot make AI to work. To write a prompt, I have to write a proper prompt, which requires your experience to basically do the stuff, or your emotions to say, write this gentle note kind of thing, right? And again, it drives back to what I kind of do this like empowerment focus, right? Emphasize how developers and builders can harness technology rather than being threatened by it. That's again, I'm stressing back again that don't fear AI is going to take anything away, because it cannot do this, right? And lastly, on practical creativity. So what I mean by that, focus on the practical application of creative solutions enhanced by AI capabilities. Whatever you do, we can just do the very common thing that we all use is like write some letters or write some documents and just give proofread to the AI tool, kind of doing proofread, right? That's another thing which you do. So I always try to tie this with an example. Like when calculators were invented, the mathematicians still exist even today, right? The mathematics is not erased, right? Similarly, when CAD, computer aided designing, was coming in there, like we use computer aided design, but still architects still live, they still make money, they still do everything. Architects is still required. for them to do this job. That's how I do this, right? But what we are going to do in next few minutes, I'm going to take you through a journey like how we are going to use this applied creativity, how Snowflake has revolutionized applied creativity on making AI more easy, connected, and trusted amongst the developers. That's what we are going to see in next few minutes with, and then I'll kind of do that with a little demo that I have to show to you people at the end of the session. So what does it means? Like again, I'm just going to leave this little disclaimer. A few of the product features that we are going to show, that some of them are in private preview, some of them are PUPR or public preview. So do check before you actually use with us to see like whether they are available for you to use. And then we'll start with Snowflake Cortex AI. So what is Snowflake Cortex AI is? So Cortex AI is a set of powerful apps. I mean to say like it's a no code solutions that we have built around AI, lots of AI models that allows you to talk to your data. I'm stressing again, this is going to be a talk to your data because we're going to use natural language to talk to your data. So you'll see that and then I actually do the demo. And we also make sure that the required models, the state-of-art models are readily available for you. You don't need to load the models anytime. That's what we call them as serverless ways. All these models are available for you to kind of do all the tasks. For example, drawing from data, process and retrieval, and also building agents. So we'll be doing an agent soon, right? And all of the above, I also say like the trusted fact is very big here because we never share the data that's being given by you with the providers or we use to train the model. That's a very important thing that we do. And if you see the right side of my block is the governance piece, which means that all the RBAC, ACLs, and everything that you create on your data foundation is going to be carried forward even if you're going to apply on enterprise AI data. The very first thing that people's mind comes like when I'm going to use data, when I'm going to use AI, is my data safe? Is my data private? Absolutely. With Snowflake, I can guarantee you that it is safe because governance layer is where everything starts in Snowflake. Not only just AI, any feature that is on Snowflake is going to start with a governance layer. So if we have a P2 policy and if you're running a prompt to kind of query something which gets P2 data, obviously you're going to get an error back or a message saying that I cannot get the data because the data is protected. All right. And what does it does, right? So when I talk about this, I always talk about processing and return because data foundation is very important even when you use AI. When I don't have data, I cannot use AI for anything that I need to require. So that's where we are going to talk about two things in this, at least in particular session, is that how I can talk to my data in a natural language processing NLP. There are two tools that is available. The very first one is what we call as Cortex Analyst. So we call them as is technically a tool designed for you to talk to data. It's more for business analysts or other people or non-technical people who don't want to write SQL code or Python code or anything, but I want to derive insights from my data. So how do I do that? It's exactly what we do with Cortex Analyst. The beauty about all the ecosystem, the whole Snowflake Cortex ecosystem is that we give you tools that can be run with SQL, that can be run with Python, or that can be taught with natural language. So everything is driven by an API, which means that I have an API to run all these stuff on. Okay. Let's see that. So how does Cortex understand this thing? So for Cortex to understand your data, so we require something called as a semantic model. We've been talking about that. We've been reading about semantic model, but I try to put a few things which is very important the moment you see any semantic model. What is a semantic model? Semantic model is a structured representation of the data that adds meaning and context to raw information. So if I'm going to take any AI model and I'm going to make the AI model talk to your data right there, right? It's going to read the tables like event underscore ID, customer underscore ID, or all these stuff, which is not a natural language thing that any normal person can ask insights on. So that's where things like dimensions are nothing but what, we, when, where on your tool, on your data, right? That's what is called as dimensions. It's basically descriptive context for analysis. For example, a customer, a product, or a geography, or you name it, right? And then comes facts. Facts are nothing but they are measurable data points. For example, sales amount, quantity, revenue. So all these are called as facts. The next one is called as time dimension, which is temporal data. For example, I want to measure date hierarchies, YTD calculations, quarter to year on year calculations, and all that stuff. Metrics, calculated business measure. For example, growth rate, average order value. Right. And last but not the least, the relationship how these even the semantic models work with each other so that you can query the data more effectively using natural language. Why this becomes super important for us when I kind of use semantic model is that, like, when I don't have semantic models, the natural language questions will not understand, right? That's what I said earlier. For example, let's say I'm asking a question about events and it uses an event ID, right? We just event underscore ID. That's how you name on a table. But I'm going to ask a question, can you list me all the events that is there in my database, right? It goes into event ID, it doesn't understand event ID, so it comes back with an empty result. So I have to give them synonyms, basically, to understand what this event ID stands for. The event could also be called as a show or a concert or something, right, which is based on a business context. That's exactly where the whole semantic model plays the picture. So I'll show you that when I actually run the demo. This basically converts your raw data into something which your LLMs can understand and get you insights on. End of the day, with Snowflake Cortex, what we use semantic models to generate you query that can allow you to do this job. The next is on unstructured data. We talked about models, semantic models place on a structured data where I have everything on that. But a lot of the cases, we also have unstructured data where I want to run the same kind of a natural language question on my unstructured data, my PDFs, my images, my videos, you name it, right? We have a lot of the other stuff that we have. That's where Snowflake Cortex comes into picture. Cortex Search is basically a search service, again an API, which you can also expose outside and monetize on, which extracts information using chunks, vector databases kind of stuff. You already Snowflake, already a database. We store them as vectors. And we have a state-of-art open source Snowflake Arctic embed model, which allows you to kind of embed information, like convert chunks into actual vectors so easily. And we also use what is called as a hybrid search in Snowflake, which means that we also do a search based on semantic search, plus we also do a keyword search, fuse the results, and give you the highly ranked results. The Snowflake Cortex search plays a very important role getting unstructured data in there. Now, we saw two disparate tools right now. What's driving the industry right now is how do I make these two tools kind of work together in tandem to derive insights. That's where agents is going to come into the picture. So agent in short is nothing but something which helps you to do a data-driven workflow. For example, what I need to do, first I need to go to Cortex Analyst, get the data. I don't find it there. What should I do now? I need to go to see if my unstructured data can answer my question. So I just go to my unstructured data, or tool X, tool Y, you just name it, right? There's a lot of tools around this, right? Where I can go and get the data from and give you the actual results or insights that you want from the data. But you know what? This is very hard to build agents. The reason being the tool choices that I need to make. So how do I tell that particular AI model to go pick Cortex Analyst or Cortex Search or Slack or Teams, you name it, whatever tool you want? How do I tell it? The second one is the data access. I talked about trust when I started the whole session, right? I want to have trust in the thing, right? What access controls this particular tool is going to have and is kind of going to touch my data. That is the second one. And lastly, the efficiency, right? Accomplishing the whole thing in a perfect way, right? For example, I give you a new UI to basically get started with all this stuff. Right? That's where what we call as Cortex agent sits in. So we give you the framework. We not only give you the services, we also give you the framework to bridge between applications and retrieval services, which means that Cortex agent is smart enough to kind of go find out which tools to call and kind of interact with other things. For example, I showed you a bunch of applications here. The more things getting added. There's a little QR down there. You can just scan the QR to kind of go find more about Cortex agents. So it basically bridges the gap that I was talking to you about, like how do I combine wire tools together. But there needs to be something above it to kind of do this stuff. That's where we introduced something recently called as Snowflake Intelligence, which is in public preview, which basically allows you to kind of go talk about between structured and unstructured data. To talk to data, we always talk about, connect both structured and unstructured. As I was saying earlier, okay, let's start with unstructured. Structured data, I don't find the answer to my question. Let me go to unstructured data, find out if that is there. So we'll see that in a demo when I do this. But again, building data agents to analyze data, take action at enterprise scale. So which means that I can build the data agents to analyze data, take action at enterprise scale. Lastly, tying everything around Snowflake security and governance, which means that even if you build agents, even with new stuff, everything is within your security perimeter that you define on your data, right? Awesome. So what does the difference it makes? So Cortex agents efficiently handle tool selection. We talked about that a little earlier. And then you also have the right data access because it's going to work within the Snowflake security perimeter. Again, this is an API, which means that it's not necessary that I have to sit within Snowflake. I can also call the REST agents or REST APIs outside and integrate my application with this particular one. Efficiency means to say like you have a ready to baked in UI which allows you to do the job, right? Awesome. So I think I've talked enough. So let me show all these things in action. So we need to shift to mirroring mode so that I can show the entire stuff. Okay. That's there. And then, okay. So I'm going to show you the whole workflow right now, building Cortex Search Analyst and how do we connect everything together with agents. So I already have a table where I'm going to play with a bunch of events. The events is basically going to be in Europe. I think is the font visible from the back, or you want me to blow it up? Okay, let me go. Is it okay? Awesome. So I have this whole database has something called as customers. I'm just going to play with customer data, and I have a bunch of events. These are basically some fests that's running inside a particular region, Europe and across. For now, we just have it in Europe, and there's going to be a sales associated with this. We're going to see how much sales when this event happen. And lastly, there's unstructured data. So where you have contracts between various bands, and these data basically reside in SharePoint. I'm not connected to SharePoint right now. I'm kind of mimicking it. And then what we did is like we extracted the document using document chunks. We have functions in Snowflake that allows you to do this. Kind of take the data and put in here. So these three are structured tables. The last one is an unstructured table, right? We are going to use these two things together. As I said earlier, to talk with the structured data, I need to build a semantic model. So that's where I'm going to start with. So Snowflake gives you various things. We also have new thing introduced called a semantic views, but let's not talk about that. I'm just going to create a semantic model. So let me go create it. I'm going to choose a database. This is a database I'm working on. And I have a stage where I'm going to, it's a YAML file end of the day. That's what I'm going to store. Let me call this as music festival. I'm going to place this just in interest of time. It creates an YAML as I told you. I'm going to select the tables. Let me go back to the same database that I was with. And then go here. Pick the table. How do you know, like except contracts, I'm going to take all of the tables because contract is unstructured data. I'm going to deal that a little separately. All the columns, I'm going to use it and then create and save. The beauty about this is like when I did the same demo a year ago, I have to handcraft the old YAML. So I can still edit the YAML myself, but I have to handcraft it because like it was not generated. Sometimes you need to know the YAML schema and other stuff. But another good thing is about that, as everybody knows, as even every Claude ChatGPT says, like don't trust everything that got generated, right? So we need to go review it back, right? So, but before we review it, so let me do a first quick check. So I'm just going to say like, I'm just going to ask this natural language question. What different events are in Europe? I'm just going to run this one right now. I'm just going to interpret your question and it's generate a SQL and says, okay, these are the events that is already there, right? So that's getting there and kind of giving you the question along with the SQL code with a physical query that you can execute in case if you want to give it to people. But the beauty about this is right now is after that, let's wait for the metadata to get generated. As I said earlier, so we talked about dimensions and everything, right? The funny fact here is that this is a very common thing that this LLM generation happens is customer ID that you use here is a number, is a numeric, right? By default, what happens when the model gets generated, the numeric values are kind of added to facts because facts are something which are aggregatable, which is numeric values. So I just need to do this little thing, kind of move to dimensions. So this again a review. And in fact, when you do the semantic model is done with business analysts plus data engineers together. It's not just done by developers or data engineers because we need business to know what it means because there is also something which you also have for each thing. If you edit this one, this has also generated some amount of synonyms here for each of these columns because we from where event ID in one place goes in a different name and event ID in another place goes different name. So your model has to be consistent when it basically generates the response, right? That's what we're doing here. So, and then let me also go here and do the same stuff with here. We need to move this to dimensions. And lastly, on the ticket sales, I also need to do. Otherwise, like the model will basically anyways tell you when you do this, when you define relationship, but I'm just doing it a little ahead just to save some time. So I'm kind of moved everything together into this thing and then probably hit save. Now what get interesting is that can I do a relationship question? So let me go here, pick this one. I want to ask how many ticket sales were there for this particular fest. So this is going to combine ticket sales plus events together, which there's a relationship there. So whether my model will be able to query this, at first shot, it cannot. That's what we said earlier, like since we need to have some kind of an intelligence that is given into it because it doesn't know how to basically join these two tables to kind of query the data. So what you're going to do right now is go ahead and in a semantic model, I talked about relationships. I'm going to say, let me call this ticket to event just to make things simple. It's going to be an inner join, many to one, right table, left table, and I'm going to choose event ID on both these cases and then kind of add this relationship. Let me add one more one because I'm going to get the same thing when I do another question. I'm going to do ticket to customer, okay, customer tickets or whatever you name it. Inner join, same thing. So, sorry, customers, ticket sales, do the join on what I call it, customer ID, done, right? Now, when I go back and ask the same question, let me say once more. So I should get an answer now saying, okay, my ticket sales is there. So again, when you talk about Snowflake again, so we make things easy because when you build your semantic model, you want to understand what's the possible questions that I get on it, whether my questions are working, my model is right, so that like we have the finite model. Anyway, it's an iterative process at the end of the day. But I'll be able to get these questions out. For example, right now I got the answer to the question, the same question, which it was not able to do earlier because it doesn't know the relationship. And in fact, if you go to the physical query or the virtual query here, you should see the join that's happened, the join that we define as part of the relationship on the semantic model. It knows how to go use a join and kind of optimize stuff, right? So I think we're done with the semantic model. The other nice thing what you have to do right now is to use the agent. So what I'm going to create an agent right now. I'm going to call this music agent. Let me put it here. We leave everything to default, and if you know we created the semantic model, I'm just going to go to events, public, and then choose the models and my model, which we defined right now. Let me call this as music data because I'm going to have unstructured data coming in soon. So I'm just going to put this music, and you can have roles and other stuff. That's also beauty thing about this is also I will can put some questions on that I want to do. I'll tell you where this question comes up. Okay, I'm just going to add this quickly. Uh, So because when somebody is going to use an agent, they need to have an idea of what basically the questions that they can ask on the model. Just some idea to give them just to start with. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add all these questions here and create. That's all. So the agent is not a big thing. It's just another structure that is kind of going to wire things together. And if you see in Snowflake, we have something called a Snowflake intelligence. This is what I was talking to you about. Just going to refresh this because it needs to pick up my new agent. And the music agent comes here, right? The moment I choose music agent, you see all those questions that I asked as sample questions coming up here, giving you an idea of what type of questions that I can ask. You can build even more. And then I'm going to ask the very first question, the ratio of ticket type purchase. I think right now we have the whole UI is going to do the steps. Think about this, go to the data, query the data, get your stuff and give you the data, right? It's executing the SQL right now. You can click this to show details or hide details. And you got all the thing right now, right? The thinking is completed. It gives you the whole ratio of what happened. Having a natural language question. Okay. Let's make it a little interesting. Right now, I'm going to ask this about contracts. And you know, it cannot answer this question because it doesn't have any context into what this contract is all about. Right? Because though we have a contract table, but we have not wired that into the whole agentic system, which means that it doesn't have any idea about what it should do, right? Because music data doesn't have anything here. It says that I don't have any information about it to kind of go query this, right? Something it gives you some normal generic information. To get that back in, so what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create a search. Search is basically created using Cortex search. Again, is going to do a keyword search on unstructured data. Go to this table, use a database and schema. I'm going to call this as contract search. Okay. And then if you know the tables that I'm going to pick, it's going to be contract table. The text column is what I'm going to search, which is an extracted text from your documents. And then I'm going to use the other one as metadata, and it's going to go into display stuff. And lastly, I'm just going to configure indexing. I said Snowflake Arctic embed. There's a V2 also. We'll leave this to default. Doesn't matter here. And create search. That's all it's required for you to search your unstructured data. As long as you got the data chunked, extracted, and put it in a table, we're going to do this. There is also, like, I just recently wrote a blog on Medium, like how do we actually do it in production, where you can run the whole data pipeline, picking up the docs and getting in. If you know about OpenFlow, Apache Nifi, we recently bought that at Snowflake. We call them as OpenFlow, which allows you to write this whole pipeline of getting the data, chunking it, and putting it inside. All right. So on this, that's where I'm going to do the data preview. Obviously, just do a refresh quickly, and you're going to see the data here coming up. And let's go to the agent and edit the agent and add the search cell. So just going to go here. It's events, and you know where I'm there, and context search. Just called contract, just interest of time, long typing, and then you know the URL column is going to be URL. Add this and update it. Once I do this, all I have to do is like go back and then do a refresh, because it needs to pick up the stuff as of today, but sooner or later we'll have this one. And when I choose a music agent, you should also see the two things coming up here, right? Because I've added this to the agent. It can query the structured data and also the unstructured data. All right. Now, when I do this particular unstructured data question, it's going to go to the contracts and go and find the stuff out. Right. So while it does this, I want to culminate this with a little thing. So with your permission, I'm going to do another thing. We talked about multimodal data. So I just need your help. I'm just going to take a little snap of the whole hall, and I'm going to count how many people are sitting here using my multimodal data. Are you in for that? Okay. So maybe this will not be perfect, but I just need a raise of hands. That will be easy. All right. Okay. Thank you. And we got this answered, the question answered here about the contract. So what I'm going to quickly do is, like, I have a application that basically uses what is called as AI SQL. I think AI SQL is basically Snowflake's way of querying the data using the models on an unstructured data. So what I'm going to do right now, so let me take my photo. Give me a second. I'm going to copy it locally. Okay. I hope. Yeah, copy photo. Go to my download. Paste it here. Okay, I got this photo here. I'm going to go my database. I think I have a bunch of other stuff that I did in Melbourne. I'm going to go to my table and let me open a new finder here and downloads, and let me call this as data Sydney, and then I'm going to browse this one and dump this file here. Here, open. I'm just going to basically upload this. Okay. Okay, that's a different one. Sorry. Okay, that's got uploaded. I think I'm just going to take this away. And now, when I kind of run this one, this is going to, if you see this one, what it does basically is, like, let me do this edit one as well to get the editor window here. And let me run this again to see, like, if it's picked up a radar engineering Sydney one and see how much approximation was. If the photo is super sharp, it gives you more details. But what basically I did here is, like, if you see the other ones that I did here, see if the Sydney one is uploaded. Run this one completely, or just I do a reboot so that this whole query runs. So the idea here is to kind of use your photograph to kind of do this stuff. That's exactly what I did. For example, let me open another one. They say Melbourne one that I took earlier. To go to my photos, and so these are the Melbourne 1 and 2 that I have. So I basically did this one here and kind of use this picture. This is a more sharper picture, so which I kind of use this one. That kind of board measured the whole stuff here. So let me see. Let me reboot it once to see if it's able to get all my files up. a second, and we are done with that. So if you see, while that happens, this is a query that happened here. I'm just kind of using AI complete. I give you the model name, and then I'm asking the possible question like scan the whole thing to get me a count of number of possible attendees, blah blah blah, the usual prompt that we give, and then kind of gets a JSON data back, and then I'm kind of doing JSON processing on the data, get the thing out, right? So let me see if I got this one there. I don't have. I was just still doing that this little UI for this. Then kind of hopefully it gets my stuff up here. Okay. See, you're lucky. Aha, the developer day. Okay. so so I think okay, fine. But the whole idea is this. So it counts on all these things, but again, it's just an experiment. So if your picture is sharper, you can give it to the multi-model thing, which can also query your text as well as your data, right? I think that's pretty much I have, and probably I'm allowed to talk to you. I'll be around for a few more hours at my booth. In case if you want to talk more, we can just talk. I just want to leave with this little note, and back to your other sessions. So creativity involves breaking out of established patterns in order to look at things in a different way. That's all it matters. Whether it's AI or something else coming tomorrow, please don't worry about it. We are still relevant. We are needed. Without that, AI cannot do anything, right? With that, I take a goodbye from you all. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are around, probably you can also take a snap if you wish to join our superheroes program, which is there, or you can visit our booth, which is there. You can talk more about that. And over to you, Peter.